Well, good evening, everybody. You're watching the 2026 Maritime Under-16 AAA Hockey Championships here in Tyne Valley, Prince Edward Island, with this third of three Friday matchups here at the tournament coming up between HC Kings and the Western Rebels here at the Rebels home rink in Western PEI, and you're watching it here on High Button Sports. My name is Luke Diamond. Thank you for tuning in for this one and any other games you've tuned into all weekend long here in Tyne Valley. Game 6 of 10 in the round robin schedule here in this tournament, and a crucial game here for both of these clubs. Kings Hockey Club fighting for their season in this one, 0-2 in their first pair of games here in the tournament with just a goal in between the two games. They're really looking for a spark to get them back in the mix here for a shot at the gold medal game on Sunday. Meanwhile, the Western Rebels, through two games, are 1-1. If they come away with a regulation win here tonight, they will move even with the Cabot Highlanders for first in the standings after 3 days of action here in Tyne Valley, with the St. John Vitoes winning the first game of the day, beating Kings by a 5-1 score in that one, and a thriller of a game just before this one with my colleague Mark Rooney. Cabot Highlanders winning that one by a 1-0 score, a goal in the opening minute of the game, and held it down the other 59 minutes through to take that one. So you just can't predict the results here at the Maritime Championships here, with the host team coming out to play their third of the campaign. It's going to be a rematch of the 2025 Monktonian Championship here on Tyne Valley ice here tonight. The Rebels beat the Kings 4-1 in the Monktonian final all the way back in November. In fact, those teams met twice in the tournament. Kings won earlier on in group play, but the Rebels got the revenge there as well. Western won the season series with Kings in regular season play, 2-1. It's been a little bit since they played. The Rebels taking the win last time. They met up in February down in Sackville, but it all comes down to tonight with playoff implications on the line here for both teams as we throw it down to the ice for the national anthem. So the Rebels snapping a 5-game skid last night, shutting out the Highlanders 5-0, maybe building up some momentum here in front of the home crowd here in Tyne Valley. Meanwhile, the Kings trying to turn things around as they get ready for the back-to-back, their second game of the day here at the Cavendish Farms Community Event Center as we meet the starting goaltenders down on the ice. In between the pipes for HC Kings, George Mahinick, 0-1 in the tournament so far, stopped 27 of 29 in the tournament opening loss against the Cabot Highlanders. Mahinick also played the third period this afternoon against the Vitoes and didn't allow any goals. And for the Western Rebels, they're riding the hot hand. Hudson Lynch in net pitched an 18-save shutout against Cabot last night to start off his Maritime tournament, and he will have the net until Coach Brett Glantz says otherwise. Right off the draw, and a scramble on top of Mahinick as the Rebels cut right to the chase. 20 seconds into this hockey game, getting oh so close to beating Mahinick, who had to scramble back to his net to keep that puck out from going in here in the first minute of this game as we get underway in Tyne Valley. The Rebels in the green uniforms to your left, and Jackman and the Kings in the black and maroon colors to your right, and that was the captain, Jordan Jackman, directing that shot at Hudson Lynch from the angle, and Lynch was ready for that. Jackman, the tournament MVP at the Nova Scotia Provincial Championships a couple of weeks ago, a tournament that the Kings won. Still looking for goal number one of this tournament. He found the back of the net 4 times at the Provincials, and that is one back to Cade Romaine of the Kings, who will return it back into the zone with his right skate. Now sent in down low for Ethan Lemoyne, who will lay the body on Ben Harris. Up for Glover. He fanned on his intended shot, but it'll roll to the corner for LeBlanc, and taken away by the Rebels. Brody Noy going up the wall with it. He will shoot it to center ice, and Romaine will go on the back end over to his D partner. Glover deflected in, and LeBlanc is dumped to the ice there by a Rebel. That was Ben Harris throwing the body. He will hustle back to his post on defense. So the Rebels with a chance right off the opening shift, 15 seconds in. A great setup in front of the Kings net that Mahinick was able to handle, so being tested early. That pass was intended for Tobin McEwen. McEwen with 1 goal last night, as part of the Rebels' 5-0 win in that game. And is cleared down the ice. All 5 Rebels going to change. And cycling that in low is Ben Frazier. Backhand that down into the corner. Comes to Alex Slavuta for HC Kings. And stolen up the middle with some speed is Ellis Callahan. Callahan had a pair last night in the win over Cabot. 2 third-period goals for Callahan, who is third in team scoring this year. 13 goals and 34 points on the season. Is carried up and out of the zone by Kaysen Lively over to Scott Corkum. Corkum pinched along the boards there by Surrett. That's in on the rim, and Frazier will let that go. It is off the paddle of Hudson Lynch and up into the mesh here. So lots of action in the first 2.5 minutes of this hockey game. Western Rebels 1-1 heading into this one. They dropped the tournament opener against the Eastern Dukes, a 5-1 final in that Wednesday night matchup. They bounced back last night with that win over Cabot, 5-0. Going up against the Kings, held it close with Cabot, lost that one 2-0. But the St. John Vitoes handed them loss number 2 of the tournament here in the early afternoon game at the Cavendish Farms Community Events Center. Vitoes coming ahead by a 5-1 score final in that game, and what was a fairly physical game for the Kings. At one point after a scrum in the second period, there were 5 different Kings players in the box. But nonetheless, despite all the discipline handed out in that game, the Kings Hockey Club will ice a full lineup. And they're out here to play for their tournament lives here tonight. That's moved up ahead by Matthew Thompson. The Kings forward will chase it down low. It's swung around the wall for Ben Phillips, the aptly named Sheriff of the Western Rebels. Back in the lineup after a 4-game absence. He was suspended after a hit thrown in Game 2 of the Prince Edward Island final against the Eastern Dukes. So he missed the last 2 games of the series, as well as the first 2 of the Maritime Championships. As Thompson walks in, he was set up there beautifully by Jackman on the dish. That's going to ride up off the glass and back out to the neutral zone. Thompson attempted to deflect that up and over the head of Brody Noy, and taking a tumble there was Glover attempting to dump that in. It went off a Rebel and in to the home team's bench here. Just about 4 minutes into the game, no score yet. Both goalies getting a little bit of testing in. And that's going to be Jack McDonald taking the face-off for the Rebels. McDonald playing the tournament as a call-up player as the Rebels ice the puck. McDonald won the under-18 AAA championship here in the Prince Edward Island League with the Mid-Isle Matrix, part of that team. And after that, right back to work here as a member of the Western Rebels. And McDonald will have to face off against Jordan Jackman. Jackman, one of the very best face-off men in the tournament. He'll win it back to Glover, who slides with one knee and manages to keep it in the zone. Thompson going up against Harris, leaves down for Jackman. He'll walk back up and now sells down at the hash marks. Up top for Romaine, and that's off a body in front. Big block by McDonald, and that will trickle over to Caleb Smallman. Took a tumble in front of his own bench and will give it away to Jackman. Joined on the rush by Thompson. Back in the top line for the Kings, trying to establish themselves down low in the Rebel zone. Romaine jumping up to keep that in the zone. A good play by the defenseman, taking air. Back door for Jackman, and a little too hot to handle was that dish. Jordan Jackman to the top of the circle. Will switch spots with Corkum, and that is off the stick blade of Jack McDonald and up over the head of Hudson Lynch and into the mesh and out of play. 15:29 to go here in the period, coming into the home stretch pretty near of the round robin portion of the tournament. The Cabot Highlanders and the St. John Vitoes will meet in the next game after this at the Maritime Championships. A bright and early 9 a.m. start, so set your alarms at home for that one. There'll be 3 games tomorrow, though. Eastern Dukes facing off against Kings in the 12 p.m. game. And then the Western Rebels take on the St. John Vitoes to close out the round-robin portion of the tournament. That'll be a 3 p.m. puck drop tomorrow. You can catch all of that on High Button Sports, as well as the gold medal game on Sunday at noon, which will decide the Maritime champion here in the PEI. The first time this tournament has ever been held in Prince Edward Island. Only a 3-year-old league. The Basin Armada, the Maritime champions in 2024, the inaugural year. And the Western Rebels, the defending champs, took the title in Port Hawkesbury last year, defeating the Cabot Highlanders 6-3 in the final of that tournament. The Rebels qualifying as a wild card, the best performing regular season team that didn't win its league. The Dukes won the island in 7 games last season. The Rebels are up with numbers in alone. Oh, an excellent opportunity for Hudson Pino. And Mahinick will kick it away with the right pad. Good look there for the Western Rebels. They've snuck in on a couple of chances as Pino takes it back. He'll walk over the slot area, will fork the backhand in the direction of Mahinick, and that's going to be blocked by Jacob Amiro. Amiro scored the lone goal in the loss to the St. John Vitoes this afternoon. The defenseman finds the back of the net. Lemoyne all alone in front was Mason Cole, and he couldn't find his target. The pass is behind him. Now up with a break, the captain, Ben McGregor, tried to sneak in behind Amiro, but he will tie up the Rebels forward and prevent a scoring chance the other way. Delayed offside against Western. Ace Oatway has to let go of the puck. And McGregor will give chase now, but his shot high up off the glass, deflected up to himself. That's Alexander Slavuta. Thought about the toe drag, and that's going to be denied by Ty Collins. Collins, the Tyne Valley boy on the Western Rebels lineup. Only one from the local community here representing the home team. His second year with the team. One of the team's assistant captains as well on the blue line. Romaine will chip that ahead. Kaysen Lively in. Back door, the shot. And Ben Fraser had a lot of time and space to pick his spot on Lynch, but it's going to whistle wide. Oatway skates through the check. Now numbers for the Rebels. Allison in front of the goal, and Ace Oatway's shot is off an object and out of play. 13:24 to play in the first period. Still scoreless between the Rebels and the Kings here on High Button Sports. And the draw comes to the left side of Mahinick. It's held in there by Brody Noy. Noy will spin around. Will try to backhand that back in low, but Slavuta and Lively together work to punch that puck back out to center ice. It's dumped back in by the Western Rebels. Lively failed to pick that up, and Frazier will make the second move. Sent way up through the air into the chest logo of Slavuta. It's going to bounce off him and ricochet over to Romaine. Romaine going in 1-on-4 there. Finally dished it back to Lively. And Kaysen Lively will sneak out of pressure into the middle of the ice. Threat broke it up, and Lively takes it again. Kaysen Lively to the wide side, ran out of real estate. He's pinned up there by a pair of Rebels now, and is shot up through the middle of the ice by Western at the end of a shift, a couple of those players. But they will have to return to the ice as they send it down to 200 feet for an icing violation. So the host team versus the Nova Scotia champions here tonight. And won the Nova Scotia tournament that was. Kings won game 1 of that tournament, losing to the Dartmouth Voyagers 4-2. They would win their remaining 3 round robin games until they beat the Martello Buccaneers by a 4-3 score in the shootout in the championship game. So anything's possible here. Kings know well to never say never. That hits an object in front and bounces wide. Mahinick was ready for the follow-up shot from the perimeter off the tape of Harris. Sidorik makes a move and will set it back for Corkum. Corkum on the backhand up the wall, and up through the middle is Landon Culp. Culp will backhand that in behind Luke McGilvery. McGilvery, one of the goal scorers last night for the Rebels, has thrown a huge hit. There was Nash Neufeld in behind the play, laying the check on Harris. Sidorik leaves it for Corkum, and Corkum will be knocked off balance. Caleb Smallman using that big frame as the forward to knock the defenseman down. And a huge hit thrown in the corner by Zach Goody. Goody with a goal, which he scored in the Eastern Dukes game. The only one for the Rebels in that game, in the 5-1 loss to Eastern to open their tournament. 11.5 minutes on the clock now here in the first period. Still awaiting our first goal of the game. It's going to be a face-off to the right of Hudson Lynch in the Rebel zone. Callahan in to take it for the Rebels, going up against Jackman. And rather it was McGregor in the circle, but nonetheless the Rebels win the draw. It's going to be shot hard down the ice. It's an icing call committed by Western, so we'll redo that face-off in all likelihood in the same spot. Here on this beautiful Friday evening in Tyne Valley, starting to warm up here this week in PEI. Spring technically here if you're looking at the calendar, but in reality right around the corner nonetheless. Amiro off the face-off win. Down along the wall where Thompson is crunched by a Rebel. Jackman will come in to assist. And Ace Oatway will go up the ice with it. He is pushed aside by Amiro. Buys time for Jaden Weston to make a move up the ice with it. Jackman, some good footy-style play there to kick it up to a stick. Stays on side as Thompson walks into the zone. He's going to flutter that wide. Perhaps he's looking for Weston, who is charging toward the back post on Hudson Lynch. It rolls out to Thompson at center ice, and that's going to go up for Jackman. He's joined by Chisholm. Jackman hits the brakes inside the zone, and Thompson back in the play and now has it. Thompson curls around, lets it go from a tight angle. Going to miss the net wide. Glover fails to keep it in the zone, and almost a chance coming away with it there was Brady Allison, who with maybe another half step might have been gone as it hits a couple of players in front of the bench. We're going to get a stoppage in play. And perhaps that was an offside call, or it could be something else. It looks like offside is the only call, either that or a win out of play off somebody on the Kings Hockey Club bench. And Kings wins the draw. Romaine on the outlet. Cole look to get that to LeBlanc. It'll be taken the other way. Tobin McEwen walks into the zone, backhands that in the direction of Mahinick. An easy shot that's easily turned wide. In behind the goal, pounding away with it. Jack McDonald gets it up to the point. That's going to go off the skate of Phillips. Tried to get it across there to Collins. Now he gets it. Went for the backhand maneuver. Oh, what a goal! Zach Goody to open the scoring for the Rebels. The no-look backhander fooled everybody, even the goaltender. And the Rebels take the lead in the first. What a way to register goal number 2 of the tournament. Zach Goody, oh my Lord. He takes the pass from Ty Collins in the slot area and innocently spins the puck around. It was not a quick shot by any means, just needed the change in direction. It's going to trick Mahinick, and that fooled Mahinick too on the dump, and it'll be caught in between his pads and it's taken away by the Rebels. They're right back to work. Pino steals out there with Callahan and Surratt. Bounces away from Callahan. Up to the point, Collins. That's blocked off the leg of LeBlanc. And Mason Cole will try to split the D. Up with speed, Mason Cole. And a save of the blocker of Hudson Lynch, stopping the partial break from the Kings forward. Now Lemoyne will steal. Walks in with a shot. Whistled wide, rebound. Cole recovers. Scramble in front of the net, but the puck didn't get there. Rebels back up through center. Pino steals it. Kicks it up to his stick. And a little too long, as Siderick was hanging off his back on that one. And that's going on the tournament highlight reel for sure. Zach Goody with a nifty little backhand. A really cheeky one from number 21 in the Rebels uniform, as Hudson Lynch corrals a trickier than it seemed shot coming off the Amiro flip from center ice. And the Kings player got caught up there with a couple of Rebels behind the play with 8:50 to go. Zach Goody opening the scoring here. 1-0 Rebels on High Button Sports. Cason Lively at the faceoff dot will win it clean. Back to Ben Frazier. He's looking for that high blocker on Lynch. It's going to deflect up and out of play, so we'll get another try on that faceoff in the exact same location. Lively at the dot, going up against McGregor. Lively again with the win. Weston now, and gloved by Lynch. So Hudson Lynch being challenged plenty here to start this game. Lynch tied for 9th in league save percentage this year with a .908 mark in that department. 11-6 record in the win-loss categories as well for the Rebels goaltender. Getting a big vote of confidence here from the coaches tonight after pitching the shutout yesterday to come out here again against the Kings. That time of the year where maybe you have to consider riding with the hot hand, as Allison will pin that up along the wall in behind the Kings net. Brady Allison up for his Rebels teammate Noy at the point. Tries to fish that through the traffic in front, and McGregor was parked at the goal mouth. It's going to ricochet away, and McGregor will hit off the ice, or rather Allison does. Frazier picks it up over the center ice logo. Zone entry onside for the Kings. Bounces over to Lively. He'll keep it in. Tries to evade some pressure. Slavuta through a crowd, and that is directed aside by Lynch. Lively chipping at that, and bounces up to Slavuta again. Cade Romaine right off the bench, and he's going to be stripped off the puck by Ben Harris on an aggressive play from the Rebels blue liner, who himself will go for a change. And an offside violation committed by Caleb Smallman of the Kings. Looks to be the call on that one. 7.5 to go here in the first period. Zach Goody with a beauty of a goal to open up the scoring here today. Usually two goodies here on the Rebels lineup. Zach wearing number 21 and Isaac wearing number 91. However, Isaac out of the lineup tonight, so we won't get a look at number 91 in the Rebels uniform in this game anyway, as Western will be short a forward. They are playing with their call-up player Jack McDonald during this tournament. So draws one back to Daniel Pigeon. He fans on the shot though, and Neufeld gives chase down the ice. Luke McGilvery around the net. That's going to strike Grant Shelley of the Kings and briefly stay in the Rebel zone, but it is retrieved by Pino, who will go in one-on-one the other way. He's joined by McGilvery, the defenseman. Bounces back to Pigeon, the shot, and caught by an alert George Mahinick, who will corral that up and bring a stop to play. So the Rebels forward lines will change up after that one. The goal scorer, Zach Goody, back out on the ice with Caleb Smallman and Connor Hudson in to take the draw. Hudson lined up against Landon Culp in Kings territory, and Culp got the draw back to his defenseman Glover, but is mobbed there immediately by a pair of Rebels. And Western will come away with it as Smallman in behind the net. Glover will catch up, and Pigeon returns it to the corner. Smallman in a foot race for it along the wall. Goes up against Grancelli, and Smallman knocks a King to the ice in that puck battle. A bit of a rugby scrum there along the wall. Three players of each team caught up in there. And Landon Culp will skate up and out with the puck. Makes a nice move to the backhand and feeds Grancelli. And off the shin pad of McGilvery. A nice block there for the Rebels defenseman. Jammed away at it, still inside the zone, and now no longer. Zach Goody up through the neutral zone. Lets it go, look for the blocker side on Mahinick, but the perimeter shot is easily turned aside. 6:22 to go now in the first frame. Kings Hockey Club playing for their playoff lives here. Want to avoid falling to 0-3, otherwise that will disqualify them mathematically from the gold medal game on Sunday afternoon. They'll need to win out in their last two games today and against the Eastern Dukes tomorrow afternoon, and get a little help along the way. Among that help, they will need the St. John Vitoes to lose out, as well as the Western Rebels. And the Dukes if you count it. But if Kings beats the Dukes tomorrow, the Dukes have already played 3 of their 4 round robin games, so that would be Eastern's last of the tournament. As it will be flipped up and out to center. McEwen gives chase, but now Jackman will take it the other way for Kings. Jordan Jackman skates in, trailed there by Thompson. Up top for Sidorik. Lets it go toward the net, and that's off the skate of Collins and knocked away. And Jack McDonald tried to retrieve that up at his own blue line, but will lose a handle at it over the center ice dot. The captain, Jackman, will chuck in the backhand. In behind the Rebels net, he'll give chase. Up along to the right wing, held by Sidorik. Will look to make a play now for the Kings, and that's kicked aside. Rebound right to Jordan Jackman. Up top on the far side, Thompson from a tight angle. Lynch had to be sharp there in the second attempt. Jackman parked right on top of the goal, and Lynch will lock it down and make another save, buying his team a change. 5:17 to go in the first. 1-0 the score for the Rebels on High Button Sports. Face-off won by Jackman in the O-zone. Back to Sidorik. Trades passes with Corkum. Pinned up along the wall. Over to Thompson. Going in 1-on-2 there. Takes a check from McGregor. Jackman joined down in the corner by Chisholm. Chisholm parked in the net front area now as Jackman is separated from the puck. And McGregor will wheel back down the other way. And Chisholm will knock him to the ice. Brought into the zone deeper. Corkum retrieves in behind Mahinick's net. Both McGregor and Allison in there on the puck battle for Western. And now the Rebels captain will come up with it. Off a skate over to Owe. Owe looking for McGregor in the net front. And it doesn't find him. And it'll be flickered up into the mesh and out of play as Allison exchanging some words with a Kings defenseman after the whistle goes here. So about 4.5 to go here in the period. As we await the draw, it will come up in the Kings zone to the left of Mahinick. Very entertaining tournament so far. We've had a lot of 1 and 2 goal games as well. A couple of them turning into blowouts of 4+ goals. But definitely that's in the minority of games. So always entertaining under 16 hockey action. Getting more of that here this weekend in Tyne Valley as Sam Surratt sprung up on the breakaway into the armpit area of Mahinick, who is able to hold off Surratt, who is on a 6-game goalless drought right now. The leading scorer for the Rebels this year, 32 goals and 57 points, 3rd in league scoring. He registered an assist last night in the 5-0 win over Cabot, but you can just tell the way he's playing, he really wants to pop one in the back of the net here for his team sooner than later. Off the face-off draw, he gets it to Pigeon, and that goes right up into the air. as that is off the chest of Mihinick and straight up and down, landing in behind the goal. And Ethan Lemoyne will skate it up through center. Going in 1-on-3, made a beautiful move. He'll draw the penalty with that. And the Rebels will touch up, the arm in the air from the official. And it's a head contact call, it looks to be, coming up against one of the Western Rebels players out here. And for the first time in this hockey game, HC Kings will go to the man advantage with just under 4 to play in the period. So head contact to call. Draw's going to be to the right of Lynch and Mason Cole in to take the face-off. Sam Surratt in the box for 2 minutes or less for the Western Rebels. And a big hit off the play, and that will negate that power play just as soon as it started. A charging minor coming up against HC Kings. Only 5 seconds into the Kings man advantage. And it's Cade Romaine that will go to the box. Romaine, one of the more physical customers on this HC Kings team. He's really leaned on to set the tone physically for his club. We've definitely seen that here during the playoffs in the Nova Scotia Provincials. But maybe stepped over the line a little bit too much there. So we'll get 4-on-4 play for 1:55. It's going to be Ellis Callahan out on the ice with Hudson Pino. Joined out there on the defense by Pigeon and McGilvery. Callahan from up top, and Pino was swooping in toward the net, and Mihinick will find it. It's Ethan Lemoyne and Alexander Slavuta out on the ice to counter for the Kings, and Amiro and Weston, the defenseman. Draw to the right of the Kings net. Kings play out of Lower Sackville, out of the Sackville Community Arena, a beautiful rink. We remember up here in Tyne Valley when our friends down in Sackville, Nova Scotia made sure to support us heavily after the burning down of the old Cavendish Farms Community Sports Center during the National Craft Hockeyville competition. And I know for sure that during that Hockeyville campaign, the residents of Sackville, Nova Scotia and Tyne Valley PEI forged a lifelong friendship there as they came to the assistance of the local community. So hello to everybody tuning in from Sackville here tonight. Up here in Tyne Valley, we say hello. Battling away down in the corner is Weston. He'll fight it back to Lemoyne. Walking in down low, now he finds himself some room, gets the shot off, kicked aside by Lynch. The rebound shoots right back out to Lemoyne. He went for a full lap around the offensive zone against the Rebels. And Miro now, that was a bobbling puck. It'll shoot right up into the air, up over the head of Pigeon, who will take the bump from Slavuta. Another 30 seconds to play now in 4-on-4 hockey, and the tie-up in between McGilvery and Tobin McEwen as McEwen attempted to enter the zone. But it'll be caught by Mihinick and settled down with 2:22 on the clock in the period. 1-0 to score for the Rebels so far. Zach Goody with a beauty of a goal to open things up here in this game. Just a nifty deflection, if anything. Ace Otway barrels into the corner against Sideruk and came away with it. Couldn't hang on for long, though, as LeBlanc will strip him. Charlie LeBlanc skates up through. He ran into Otway and is down to his knees. He was pleading for a call, not going to get it. Sam Surratt preparing to jump out of the box in 5 seconds. And then 5 seconds after that, Cade Romaine for the Kings scores! Mason Cole from up high beats Lynch on the screen. And the Kings will tie it up at 1. And we've seen Mason Cole use that shot before. Do we remember the tying goal in the Nova Scotia Provincial Championship final with 4 minutes left in the third? Well, wasn't that eerily similar? And Mason Cole pulls it even at 1 here late in the first period. And that will technically count as a shorthanded goal for HC Kings. There was still 3 seconds left in the penalty to Cade Romaine, just as Sam Surratt had jumped out of the box as well for the Rebels. And Cole He knows how to rip it from the perimeter, and he picked his corner there. The first goal scored on Hudson Lynch in almost 4 periods of play here at the Maritime Championship. Taking quite a bit to beat the Rebels netminder in this tournament. But there it is. We're all pulled even at 1 here with about 85 seconds remaining to play here in the first period. Matthew Thompson sells that down. Up for Jackman, and into the zone by Amiro. He flutters in a high backhander. Ben Harris looking for his left winger and taking the tumble. Romain goes down, and it'll be an icing call against the Rebels. Romain looked up after that. He was scared that perhaps the icing would be negated after he tripped and fell. But nonetheless, there'll be a face-off coming up in the Western Rebels zone with just over a minute left to play in the first period. So Mason Cole with his first goal of the Maritime Championships. The Kings only had 1 goal in their first 2 games of the championship. That goal coming from Jacob Amiro in the 5-1 loss to the Vitoes. So Cole jumping in on the scoring there, a big one for HC Kings at this juncture in the tournament. And Goody's shot is up off the stick of Sidoric and it'll play. Now 56.2 left on the clock here in the first frame. Biggest crowds always turning out for these Rebel games, of course, as the host team. But we've had good crowds all weekend long, sizable traveling contingents joining all 5 of the teams playing here this weekend, or rather all 4 of the traveling teams. As Ellis Callahan steals it, tried to pull it back on the drag shot out there on that top line with Surratt and Pinot, and it's up for Thompson, who was almost away on a 2-on-1. Ben Fraser was skating up with pace as well. Weston tried to play that up to Fraser, who is returning to his zone, and now he will corral it in his own zone. Looking for that stretch pass. He's going to find Jackman at the far point. He's got a chance. Oh, an excellent kick save by the right toe of Hudson Lynch, coming up with a late period save, a huge one on the captain, Jordan Jackman of the Kings, who is hungry himself for his first goal of the Maritime Championships. That's through the feet of Surratt. Now 10 seconds remaining in the period. The Jackman line for Kings, keeping things interesting here at the tail end of the frame. As Pigeon will back off, up for McGilvery. And as the buzzer sounds, Jackman had it in the neutral zone, but it won't matter as the teams will head to the room after 20 minutes of play. Goals from Zach Goody for the Rebels, and Mason Cole responding for the Kings with just about a minute and a half left in the period. Tie at 1 in a closely fought game here in the opening 20 at the Cavendish Farms Community Event Center in the 2026 Maritime Under-16 AAA Hockey Championships here in Tyne Valley. Stick around. We'll be right back for the second period in about 10 minutes or so on High Button Sports. And welcome back to High Button Sports' coverage of the 2026 Maritime Under-16 Hockey Championships here in Tyne Valley. After 20 minutes of play, an even 1-1 score between the host Western Rebels and the Nova Scotia champs, the Kings Hockey Club. Kings adding a late goal there in the period. Mason Cole tying things up at 1 with just under 2 to play to the intermission. Zach Goody had the opening goal in the period about midway into the frame. And that is where things stand right now, with Lynch and Mahinick going shot for shot in the net. Kings fighting for a win here. They need one, and likely one in regulation, if they want to keep a decent shot here going at gold medal contention on Sunday afternoon. Meanwhile, the Western Rebels, after winning their first game of the tournament last night, look to keep things rolling here on home ice. As we get underway off the puck drop, Matthew Thompson tried to flip that up, almost picked off by Sam Surratt of the Rebels. It'll roll to Collins in front of the Kings bench, and that is up along the top of the boards and sent down the length of the ice for an early icing call against the Western Rebels. And another good day of action here on this Championship Friday at the Maritime Championships. St. John Vito's won their first game of the tournament today, defeating Kings by a 5-1 score. And our first game of the day, and a really, really tight game in Game 2, the Cabot Highlanders defeating the Dukes 1-0. The Dukes' first loss of the tournament, and the Highlanders' second win. Cabot now in the standings with 6 points, leading all 5 teams here thus far. However, Cabot and Eastern, the only 2 teams so far to play 3 complete games. The Rebels could move even with Cabot if they are able to beat the Kings in this one and advance to 2-1. Draw to the left of Hudson Lynch. Now to cycle back for Weston. Now down in the corner, Neufeld to the net. Now off the boards. Weston cycles in. Out there on that line with Jordan Jackman and Matthew Thompson. Jackman hustling back, trying to catch Ben McGregor. Tried to dangle in one-on-one, but Amiro with a clever stick will poke that away. And now Jackman will take off across center, and McGregor is catching up with him. Was looking to line him up perhaps for a body check. Doesn't catch him, as Brady Allison will pick it up in his own zone, and McGregor gains the red line, or maybe not, according to the linesman. And McGregor doesn't appear to agree with that, as the draw will come all the way back down to the Western zone. Just over a minute into the second period, a few consecutive whistles here to start the action here in the middle frame. And McGregor has to remain on the ice here. The long shift second period for these teams, going up against Ethan Lemoyne in the face-off circle, and it's won by McGregor. Off the glass hard again by the Rebels, and another icing early on here in the frame, so a little bit of a choppy start to this period. So teams haven't exactly established a flow yet out of the dressing rooms. So another face-off coming up against McGregor and Lemoyne. The goal scorer, Mason Cole, lining up in behind Lemoyne, and he'll wind up, and he did not miss the top of the net by much as it whistled up and over the mask of Lynch. And Otway skates through the checkup with numbers. Ace Otway off the blocker of Mahinick right in front, and McGregor almost batted that in on the second attempt. And Mahinick slid across to keep that out. Now Lemoyne pins it to the boards, and that is scooped up by Makar Sidoric in front of the Kings net. And Mason Cole will go in on the entry. Just missed the net by a hair a minute ago on a slap shot off the face-off. Tried to center it, and Western will take it away again. And it's Otway once more. Otway, he's joined by Ellis Callahan on the right side, who was a step offside. You could see him trying to hang back with 1 foot. But we will get the face-off outside of the Kings line coming up. So HC Kings will complete a full line change. It'll be Cason Lively and his line jumping onto the ice. In this game, he's centering Alexander Slavuta and Ben Frazier. And Slavuta will steal it from McGilvery. Centering pass in front, bounced away off the toe of Lynch. And a slapper and a big hit thrown by Cade Romaine. dumping Jack McDonald to the ice, and the big body there from the physical Kings defenseman. It's brought in, teed up to Pigeon from goaltender Lynch. He's going to wait at the bottom of the face-off circle in his own zone. Tried to clear a pass lively. That's going to fail, and Lynch will redirect that to the corner. Pigeon has to make a quick play. He does, but Glover hangs on to it, and Lynch will hold on as that shot in from the point for a save. 17.5 minutes to go now on the clock in the second. Still a 1-1 score. So we're just getting going here in the new period. Exciting weekend of hockey action here in Tyne Valley. About a 25-minute drive west of Summerside and an hour and 15, hour and a half west of Charlottetown. Here in the lovely western side of the island. The rink's 5th year in operation after opening up in 2021. This is actually the second regional championship that the Cavendish Farms Community Event Center will host. The first was in 2022 when the Atlantic Under-18 Female Championship was held here by the Western Wind. And a penalty coming up. It's going to go against HC Kings. So the Western Rebels will head to the power play for the first time in this game once it's touched up. And unless something else happens here, as we've had a lot of scrums unfolding here in the corners, it's going to be a tripping call coming up. And we'll see what the assessment is from the referee. So Jacob Emiro will sit for 2 minutes or less. It's a tripping minor. And the Rebels, with the second-ranked power play on the regular season, clicking at 27% through the year, will get to work. Only power play better than them is the St. John Vitoes, as they'll win the draw, and Western will get set up. Surratt snapped that from way back, unable to clear it. It'll come back to Surratt on the close side. Cross ice with room for Ellis Callahan. Callahan and Surratt connected on a power play goal yesterday against Cabot. And across for Surratt! Scores! His first goal of the tournament, and his first in 6 games. Surratt, the team's leading goal scorer, finally finds the back of the net, and a big one to give his team the lead on the power play here in the second period. And as the reverse connection from last night it was 92-9, now it's 9-92. Ellis Callahan finds his man Surratt crossway, and he had all day to shoot that into the open net. Past an outstretched George Mahinick, and a power play goal for the Western Rebels on their first full opportunity on the power play of the evening. And they'll pull ahead by a 2-1 score. That's one back to Corkum. Deflected in on the spear by Chisholm, giving chases Thompson in behind the net as the top line jumps out there for the Kings, led by Jordan Jackman. Jackman's going to lose it, and Zach Goody, the other goal scorer for Western tonight, will go for a skate. That's going to be held, and maybe a bit of a premature whistle there by the referee as Mahinick failed to cover on the first attempt. Corkum took a tumble in front of his own net. He's back up to his feet. Bit of a tie up there, and we'll get a draw to the left side of the Kings' net. So Sam Surratt on the board. He didn't score in the Island final. He didn't score in the first 2 games. But he scores a lot, as we've seen this season. And it's chaos in front of the Kings' net. Mahinick fought that off. And the Rebels keep on the pressure, taken away by Callahan. Wrap try! And was looking for Surratt in the crease area. But the net is dislodged on the play. So Surratt, one of 2 players this year in the Nova Scotia Under-16 AAA League to score 30 goals. He had 32. The only player with more, Trip Livingston, the captain of the St. John Vitoes, who found the back of the net 39 times for his team this year. So Surratt, certainly an exceptional scoring talent on the ice here for this Western Rebels team. And maybe with that monkey off the back, we'll see some special things here from number 92 for the host team. Ellis Callahan throwing the body heavy on Romaine, and staying up by Jackman. He's up with speed. The Kings captain going in one-on-one on Noy. Has to rotate around, and Pino on the back check will strip it from him. They'll chip it past Romaine all the way up in front of the timekeeper's box. Looking for Chisholm on the re-entry for Kings. It's going to go by him, though, as the Rebels attempt to get it out. Sam Surratt now will enter the zone, and Callahan got that shot off into the logo on the chest of Mahinick, who will make the save. As a top line for the Western Rebels with Pino, Surratt, and Callahan making a lot of noise here tonight for their team. The Western Rebels not afraid to shuffle their lines. Surratt and Callahan were together last night, but had Isaac Goody on the wing tonight. Of course, Goody is out of the lineup, so Hudson Pino will slot into that spot on the right wing. Mason Cole retrieves it at center ice, and it's dumped in. Over the opposite corner, Lemoyne was in pursuit, throws the body, gets it back for Cole. Also on that line, Charlie LeBlanc. It's up the middle, and the referee rules that Amiro let it go, so Weston has to go get it in behind his own goal. Giving chase the other way, taken away by Allison in the slot area. Joined there by Tobin McEwen. Neither of them could hang on to it for a sustained amount of time. Jack McDonald, the third man out there on the line, but the Rebels are changing up, so could be a different combination here. We'll see. Otway hanging onto Lemoyne on the pressure. Weston will airmail that into the diagonal corner. Amiro, not shy to take part in the forecheck there. The defenseman picks up some speed and lays the body in on McGilvery. Weston up through the middle. That's kicked up, and Pigeon fell over trying to make the play, and Cole will walk in. He had that shot in the first period to tie up the game. He's not afraid to let that wrister go, but he ran out of real estate that time, and it is covered up by Lynch. 13:52 to play in the second period. Sam Surratt putting the Rebels up by 1 here on High Button Sports. Cason Lively in to take the face-off. It's won back by the Rebels, but finds its way into the net front area of the Western net. Up over the head of Siderick. Out there on the pairing with Corkum for Kings. Chipped in by Slavuta nicely, who's coming off the bench, and Lively in pursuit along with Frazier. Lively throwing the body in on the back checker Otway. And Corkum has it way back at his own blue line. Now in the neutral zone for Kings. Frazier threw that toward Lynch's net, and Hudson Lynch will kick that to the corner. Off the skate of Slavuta, but recovered by Zach Goody. McGregor up through the middle. It's a tie-up at the red line, and the captain, Ben McGregor, throwing the body in there on Lively. So Corkum will retrieve it in south of his goal line in his own zone. It's a little slow to get up after taking that hit from Zach Goody. But now he's back in the action. Settled down there in the far end by Phillips. And shot up the ice off the stick of Goody, and looked like it went into the Rebels bench there, so face-off will come back toward the neutral zone here somewhere with 12:46 remaining in the period. HC Kings 20-7-6 on the season, 6th in the league with 46 points on the year, including the Nova Scotia Championship, beating the Martello Buccaneers 4-3 in thrilling fashion in a shootout as Caleb Smallman walked right in on a post. Noy returns that to the corner. Kings also had a hot record after the East Coast Ice Jam. 5-2 between then and the start of the Nova Scotia playoffs. So they've been finding a lot of ways to win games recently, and they'll be pushing to win this one today with their season potentially on the line. Smallman bobbles it in the neutral zone into the arms of Neufeld of Kings. Couldn't hang on to it long, and Glover has to hustle back for his team. Skating after that, that's Alexander Glover. And Ben Harris will join the rush, almost put his team offside. He'll retreat. And Landon Kolb comes up through the middle, a bit of a toe drag on Surratt, and snaps one from the blue line. Blocked away there easily by Lynch. Harris in behind the net, looking for Surratt on the left wing. Grant Shelley will throw it back down into the corner. Noy going up in the puck battle against Jackman. Jackman with a clever stick will knock it away from Noy up for Grant Shelley. As the Kings will shuffle up the line combinations here a little bit, looking for a spark, and it's a 2-on-1 back the other way. Tobin McEwen with Callahan to the left, up for Callahan! Scores! Ellis Callahan, the forehand, the backhand, past George Mahinick. Make it 3-1 for the Rebels. Make that 3 goals as well in 2 games for Ellis Callahan. He missed a portion of the Island final, and perhaps he's showing everybody has a little more to offer here for everybody come playoff time, as he'll take a perfect dish from Tobin McEwen, who himself has had a strong couple of games for the Western Rebels. And Western will jump up to a 2-goal lead here in the second period. And they're not done yet. Callahan flicks it up the center now. Partial 2-on-1 threat. In with Pino. Rebound. Hopped out on the basketball-like hop off the save from Mahinick. As Surratt really hungry for perhaps his second goal of the game. And the rebound also too came out to Pino. Now Jordan Jackman hustles down the other way for Kings. Jackman dodges the check. Ran into Surratt though. And is high up off the glass over the noggin of Weston. Now Pino turning on the Jets the other way. He'll tie up Weston, and he throws him to the ice. A big boy play there from Hudson Pino to muscle back the puck. But Amiro is quick in there to support his defenseman, and he'll flutter that in on top of the Rebels net. Amiro throwing the body heavy there on Ty Collins. 2-on-1 the other way again for the Rebels. Trailing man, but McGregor couldn't pull the trigger, as a great stick placement by Jordan Jackman to prevent maybe another Rebels goal here, as the offense has exploded here a little bit in the second frame. Chisholm on the attempted entry is going to be stifled by Ace Otway. Now with speed in the other direction, takes a bump over to McGregor, and he scores! Up top, the captain. First of the Maritimes for him as well, and make it 4-1 for the Rebels. $141 goals for in the season. Only the Eastern Dukes have scored more this season than the Western Rebels by only 3. So one of the more high-octane offenses in the Nova Scotia Under-16 League, and they're showing why, as they can explode on a moment's notice. They find the back of the net 3 times in as many minutes here in the middle of the second period to stun and jump out to a 4-1 lead here in the middle frame. Goals from Surratt, Callahan, and the captain Ben McGregor for 3 quick ones here to get their home crowd pumped up here in front of a near-packed crowd in Tyne Valley PEI. Now a 4-1 score as McEwen will try to handle that puck, and a huge hit thrown by Jack McDonald will dump LeBlanc to the ice. The Rebels got to be feeling good about themselves now, as McDonald dove for the puck, trying to slap at that. He was drugged down, no call on the play. So we'll continue on in behind. Charlie LeBlanc will exit out from in behind his net for the Kings. Kings looking for an answer here now, down by a trio. Sidoruk hustles in behind his goal. Zach Goody giving chase, and Lemoyne has to back off. Now Ethan Lemoyne will beeline it up for the neutral zone. He'll go up in front of the penalty boxes, and a well-placed stick by Connor Hudson. He's down into the zone now for the Rebels. He's joined by Smallman, and handling that with ease is George Mahinick. 3 quick goals from the Western Rebels, and they find themselves up by that many here on High Button Sports. Zach Goody in on the face-off, going up against Lively of the Kings. Goody wins it for the Rebels. Off the pipe with that one. Well-placed shot by Noy. He'll regain it at the point. Chucked in behind the goal. McGregor right back out there for his team. He's going to lose it though. A vicious puck battle with Glover, the defenseman. leaving it all on the table for the Kings here, but can't keep it. So Noy tries to get that through traffic, and he does. Mahinick will track it down through the traffic in front of his goal. So the Rebels finding their rhythm here in the middle period, having taken over since getting a power play about 6 minutes into the frame. Sam Surratt scoring on that one. And 2 more Rebels goals since. Ben Harris kicked away with the right pad of Mahinick. That'll come over the corner. Glover battling up against Surratt. He'll get the backhand pass over to his D partner, Weston. It's going to fork it up further for Slavuta, but it'll go by him. The Rebels keep the pressure on in front. Callahan, and an excellent save by Mahinick in close quarters as Ellis Callahan looking for his second straight multi-goal game. Weston races up the boards. Glove down by Noy. It's going to be knocked and gets over to Callahan as Weston will make a push for it up the wall. He's going to be checked off the puck in front of his bench. Slavuta filling in for him on the blue line, goes over to Glover on the close side. He'll gain the red line, or rather it hit an object on the way in. Nonetheless, Ben Harris is the man with the puck in behind the Rebels' goal. Harris is taken off down the ice. Going to be held there by Frazier. Frazier's stick goes flying as well on the play as he got tied up with the Rebels defenseman. Pino, a bit of a logjam here at center as it's slapped in further by a tired Brody Noy. And the Rebels will change up with Brady Allison throwing the body in behind the play. Will knock down Amiro to the ice. And now up with numbers, it's Alexander Slavuta, joined by Landon Kolp, who's charging toward the net front. Also joined there by Neufeld, who is hanging out over by the goal line. Otway briefly had it. Couldn't get across the line, though, as Romaine held it. It's shot right back in. The Kings keep the pressure on, but now Romaine has to retreat back to his own blue line. Allison, the lead forechecker, almost taken away up the middle as Otway was hanging out in the middle of the ice. First man down to is Jack McDonald in the corner, going up against the hard-hitting Cade Romaine. And now Amiro will take it up himself through the middle. He had a coast-to-coast goal already today, maybe another for him, as Kolb snapped that from the line along the ice, kicked away by Lynch. And a tie-up in the neutral zone. Otway gets that in deep, and McEwen with speed for the Rebels right off the bench as Ty Collins takes some opposition there on the challenge from Grant Shelley, but he was a little too overzealous to jump back into the offensive zone attack as he will take it in offside. 5:57 to go in the second period. Rebels up by 3 here at the Maritime Championships on High Button Sports. McDonald in to take the face-off against Jackman. It's Jordan Jackman with the puck on a stick, but some crossed wires there with his winger, so the Kings lose it briefly. Comes to Weston in behind the net. Siderick up the wall. Thompson diagonally for Chisholm. Chisholm going in 1-on-2, going up against Ben Phillips. Phillips' first game back in the lineup after a 4-game absence. He was serving a suspension. Rebels glad to have his presence back on the line as he brings a big element to playoff physicality as well. And Tobin McEwen will walk in with some time and space. Was looking for the offload, joined up there on the rush by Jack McDonald. McDonald was at the end of a shift, though. McEwen retrieves it in the corner. The big forward gets up to Harris, plays it in behind the goal. Zach Goody and Ben McGregor giving chase. Thompson along the left wing side gives it away to the Rebels. McGregor fights it away. Weston, a couple of changes of possession here up to the point for Collins. Collins in a big block and a tough one that Jordan Jackman certainly felt. He's slow to favor himself after that one. As one thing the Kings do really well is get in front of the puck and block a lot of shots. And Jackman, the captain, certainly sets an example for that. And he looks all right now as he'll take off down the ice, hits the break, top of the circle, shoots that high and up over the head of Lynch. Rebound bounces out to Romaine, second attempt, crowd in front, almost bound to Jackman. And it's going to get up and away. And Romaine is first back to it and icing, charged against the Western Rebels here. 4:22 now left in the second period. A frame that the Rebels have controlled here on home ice in Tyne Valley. But it'll be a face-off coming up deep in the Rebel zone with the Ethan Lemoyne line taking the ice here for Kings. Caleb Smallman, as his man was thrown out, will lose the draw to Lemoyne. Aiming for it in the corner, and Western will get it up to center. Romaine over the Glover. He's going to backpedal with Connor Hudson chasing him. And a collision in the middle of the ice. Lemoyne walks in, and Hudson Lynch read that play well. He'll slide across and deny a chance as the Kings came in with numbers here. Just over 4 left to play in the second period. The Rebels, a team full of Hudsons. Hudson Lynch, the goaltender. Hudson Pino, the forward. And another forward going by Connor Hudson. So lots of those players to keep track of for the host squad here this weekend in Tyne Valley. Speaking of Hudsons, that's Pino on the clear attempt. Can't get it up to Callahan for the full clear. And Lemoyne throws the body and strips the puck on the wrap attempt. He'll hang on to it. Over to the top of the circle. Looks at Glover and now has a shooting lane. Lets it go, but a little too late as Sam Surratt gets the stick in front and will make the save, deflecting that up into the boards, and it'll play. 3:40 now on the clock in the period. Both teams getting in a change. There'll be a draw coming up to the right of the goaltender as the Kings attempt to keep the pressure up here in the period. Lemoyne line still out there. Mason Cole lining up in behind him. Cole, the lone goal scorer in this game for the Kings, scoring late in the first period. He would definitely like to score another one before the end of this one with his team down 3 and looking for a little bit of life to get them back in the game here at this point. Now 3:33 on the clock. Lemoyne can't win the draw against Ben McGregor. The captain will get it back for the Rebels. Shot hard along the boards, and Romaine hustles back to pick it up. Gets it to Cole, crossways across the ice. He'll slap it to Glover, perhaps half unsuspectingly. And Lemoyne will go for a skate. He's going to beat McGregor and beats the second man for the Rebels. Glides in, Cole the shot. Looking for the low glove on Lynch. Then he will boot that to the corner with the left pad. Romaine attempted to get that low, but he's caught on the pinch. Partial 2-on-1 now for the Rebels. McGregor tied up. Otway hanging back. Allison! Oh, an excellent save by George Mahinnick, getting the blocker out there to take away the open net from Allison and saving his team from a 4-goal deficit off the side of the net on the counterattack from Mason Cole. Now the Kings keeping up the pressure the other way as LeBlanc is rubbed out along the boards by Luke McGilvery. They were calling for a penalty from the Kings bench as we finally come to a stoppage in play with the puck going up into the mesh and out of play. So 2:34 left in the period, and George Mahinnick coming up with his best save of the evening for HC Kings, diving across with the blocker to rob Brady Allison of what was a nice setup from his line mate. Oh, so close to a 5-1 lead for the Rebels. And the Kings, in search of a big save there, they got it with the draw coming outside their blue line. It's won by the Rebels, a little too cleanly though, as Collins has to hustle back. He's chased there by Slavuta. Slavuta out on the line with Kaysen Lively and Ben Frazier. Taken by Lively in the neutral zone. He'll enter in. Is bumped there, rubbed out along the wall there by Phillips, the assistant captain on this team, as it's deflected up and ahead by Pino and slowed down. He'll race against Weston for it. Pino throwing the body on Weston, tries to get the puck out of underneath the Kings defenseman's feet. Now will come on to the backhand of Pino. Pino curls around and dodges the check. He'll walk up to the hash marks, now to the top of the circle. Pino backpedals, tried to direct that in front, and it's a bobbling puck that changed direction several times, and Mahinnick found it amid all the chaos. It'll come over to the close side for Phillips, in low on the pinch for the Rebels. So that is flickered up toward the blue line. Callahan knocked it down though and kept it in for the Rebels, in the attack alive for McEwen. And that was a rolling puck on him. He didn't get all of that he wanted on that shot. And Mahinnick will corral that into the glove with 91 seconds remaining in the second period here in Tyne Valley. So coming up tomorrow, a trio of what will be huge games in the standings. Cabot Highlanders and St. John Vito's going head-to-head. Cabot's final game of the tournament. Depending how this game shapes out, they could punch their ticket to the championship final with a win as Mahinick stopped it in close. McEwen took it in. Following that game, the Dukes and the Kings will go head-to-head. Both of their final matchups of the round-robin tournament. And then to close things out, the Western Rebels and the St. John Vito's at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon in Tyne Valley. Some earlier starts tomorrow. Highlanders and Vito's with a puck drop at 9 a.m. here in Tyne Valley. Games moved up a few hours as the tournament banquet will be taking place tomorrow night here in Tyne Valley PEI. Noy skates up through the neutral zone and dodges a check as Romaine had him lined up. He's going to set up McEwen, though, here in the final minute of play in the second period. McEwen and Siderick get knotted. And McDonald on the centering pass was looking for Zach Goody. Goody in the net front, hungry for his second goal of the hockey game, perhaps. McDonald punched out by Romaine along the wall. It's going to roll to McEwen. McEwen stops up, changes direction, and tried to stuff it in Romaine with a huge hit. The arm is in the air, and some more antics after the whistle. Another Rebels player goes down. The net is dislodged. Mahinick still on his chest. As we get a lot of commotion after the whistle goes here. It's all started with a big hit from Cade Romaine, laying out Tobin McEwen, who was looking for the reverse wraparound. 17.3 seconds left to go on the clock in the second period. There's at least one cross-checking call on the sequence. And there might be multiple penalties here depending on what the referee spotted in that crowd. So it's Jack McDonald going to the box. And Romaine for the Kings. The referees are still consulting in front of the timekeeper's bench. Makar Siderick also heading to the sin bin for HC Kings. Player from each team will await the assessments. The referee is going to send one player off the ice. Cade Romaine exits the penalty box now and will head to the bench. And likely to the dressing room here in a second. Discussion here at the Rebels bench. We seem to have it cleared up now. There's no additional penalties listed on the board. 5 players aside for both the Kings and the Rebels. And the net that is still knocked off its moorings in behind George Mahinick. But the linesmen get that sorted out quickly. Only 17 seconds left to play in the period. Connor Hudson wins the draw for the Rebels in the O zone. McGregor on the reverse, looks for Hudson. Pursued there by Jackman, who pushes him to the boards. Hudson has it caught his feet, and Emiro will now pin him along the wall. And that will wind down the clock here in the second period. A frame that was dominated by the host team, Western Rebels here, with goals from Sam Surrett, Ellis Callahan, and as well Hudson Pino to make it 4-1 for the team. They're 20 minutes away from win number 2 here at the Maritime Championships. Here on High Button Sports, you are watching the 2026 Maritime Under-16 Hockey Championships. We'll be back in about 10 minutes or so here for third period action between the Western Rebels and HC Kings. You're watching the 2026 Maritime Under-16 Hockey Championships here on High Button Sports. After 40 minutes of play, the Western Rebels pull ahead in command in the middle frame. Goals from Sam Surrett, Ellis Callahan, and Ben McGregor in that middle period. 3 goals about 4 minutes apart to put the Rebels ahead by a 4-1 score over the Kings Hockey Club, who have 20 minutes to battle back here to avoid falling to 0-3 to try and keep their gold medal game hopes alive here in Tyne Valley PEI this weekend. The penalty box door to the Kings bench is open, so they're waiting for Makar Sidoric to make his way back there. He's serving a coincidental minor from the end of the second period. There's a Rebels player in the box coinciding with that one, as Western will take it down. 5-on-5 action to begin the third period. The Rebels to your left in the green uniforms, and the Kings to your right in the black and the maroon. And that's handled by Weston, who will chuck that in the direction of Mahinick. The goaltender had to be alert on that one, as then Amiro will dodge the check. Weston will float that up through the middle. That's knocked down, kept in by the Rebels, albeit on a hand pass. That will come to a stoppage of play. Only a few seconds here into the new period. The Western Rebels looking to advance to 2-1 if they can hang on here this period. They will tie the Cabot Highlanders in the standings if they hang on in regulation. But there's a lot of hockey to play, and we've already seen some comebacks here in this tournament. If we remember in round robin action yesterday between the St. John Vitoes and the Eastern Dukes, Vitoes up by 5-2 to begin the third period. It only took the Eastern Dukes about a minute and 45 seconds to knot it up at 5, a game in which the Dukes would eventually go on to win by a 7-6 score in the shootout. So never say never here, especially from a Kings team that's used to comebacks, including dating back to the provincial final in Nova Scotia. Amiro walks in, slides along the ice as that was blocked in front by a Rebels defenseman. Amiro gets it back in south of the goal line. That's on the right wing side in the Rebel zone, and Amiro walks out of the pressure, up for Lemoyne, looking for that top corner as it got up and away. Romaine holds it in the zone, kicked up to the stick of Lemoyne, and over to Romaine once more, walks in top, and that was blocked in front by McGregor. Chaos in front of the net. The net looks to be dislodged maybe slightly, but play will continue, and it went in around just as Mason Cole picked it up and tried to wrap it around on the backhand. So some good pressure here to begin the period for HC Kings. And Lynch will hold it down and keep the puck out of his net. Draw coming up to the left of the goaltender. Ellis Callahan and Kaysen Lively in the circle. Won by Lively, and Ben Fraser walks up top. He possesses a wicked quick wrist shot for the Kings. Trying to use that one there as that is fluttered in from the perimeter off the stick of Zach Goody and into the chest protector of the goaltender Mahinick. Draw coming here to the left side of the goalie. Jack McDonald in the O-zone draw for the Rebels. It's a tie-up off the face-off. Comes over to Tobin McEwen. Couldn't hang on to it, and Goody gives chase down in the corner. A trio of Rebels battling there against some Kings, and it'll escape out the other way as Frazier will exit his zone. Frazier dances around Goody, walks in 1-on-2, and a hard snapper down low. Corralled by Lynch. Rebound came in around the net, and Frazier attempted to throw that back on from the tight angle. Lively banging away at that. Couldn't get that on goal. And McEwen is up with it. There's a foreign object on the ice down toward Hudson Lynch's net. Play will continue on. Perhaps a net guard or something of the like. McEwen chasing after it in the other end. And Phillips mishandled it. So right back out the center is Tobin McEwen. McEwen having a huge season here for the Western Rebels. 15 goals and 38 points. Second on the team in scoring and tied for 8th league-wide. tied none other with Jordan Jackman, the Kings captain, who himself has 20 goals and 38 points on the campaign. Coming in the other way, Smallman, a shot from the boards, bounces off to McGregor. He had the fourth of 4 Rebels goals here so far in this game. Will be out there on the line with Connor Hudson. Hudson down low for McGregor. Up top for Phillips. He lets a snapper go right up in the air. It's in behind the goal. McGregor corrals it and looks to get it up to the point for Collins. And up the other way is Nick Grancelli. Grancelli glides around Collins and retrieves his own dump in the corner, out with Nash Neufeld. Kolb also hanging out on top of the net. But the puck will go up and out of play off a puck battle there. Finally, looks like a net guard is retrieved, belonging to a Western Rebel. So Ty Collins will skate that over to the bench with 16:24 remaining in the third period. Face off in the Rebel zone. Landon Kolb will lose the draw to Callahan in a battle of number 9s in the circle. Neufeld loses his stick on the battle. He'll fly out to the neutral zone, and Callahan will come in with pace. Callahan joined by Hudson Pino and Sam Surratt, who in the second period snapped a 6-game goalless skid. So a big one here for the regular season leading scorer for the Rebels. As Brody Noy will walk away, now numbers for the Rebels. Let's it go, scores! Brody Noy, 5-1 Western. And Noy comes through. But the goal here in the third period, that will increase the Rebels' lead to 4. Now up by a 5-1 margin. Only 2 goals on the campaign in 33 games for Brody Noy. He is a stalwart in this Rebels lineup. Hasn't missed a game this year in that stay-at-home defenseman role for Western. And he walks in and makes no mistake on his chance as he finds the back of the net for the Rebels to go up by a commanding 4-goal lead here early in the third period in Tyne Valley. McEwen swings at it with one hand, knocks it over to his teammate McDonald, picked off immediately by Amiro. Some hot potato in between both teams as it went back and forth between possessions. Jackman walks in, and that is up off the stick of Daniel Pigeon, who will deflect that up and into the rafters here at the Cavendish Farms Community Event Center. So Brody Noy adds to the scoring tally for the Western Rebels, their second straight game here at the Maritime Championships. Having scored 5 goals or more, they beat the Cabot Highlanders yesterday, of course, by a 5-0 score. So they will tie themselves for the second most goals in the tournament so far. St. John Vito's through 2 games have found the back of the net 11 times, and the Eastern Dukes 12 times, despite getting shut out today against the Cabot Highlanders. Goody on the zone entry to McGilvery, lets it go. And Mahinick will grab onto that, and maybe a bit of a snow shower in on Mahinick as McGilvery went in on top of the net. Tobin McEwen in the middle of a mix-up in behind the goal, having a couple of words with Cade Romaine about the play. Nothing further here. With 15:08 left on the clock here in the third. Draw coming inside the Kings zone. Connor Hudson lines up against Ethan Lemoyne. Linesman will get that straightened out, and it's won back by Hudson. McGilvery at the point, kicked up by Smallman to his tape, but only briefly as the Kings are down with 4 players the other way. Up for Lemoyne, cuts through the middle, and a great back check by Brady Allison to knock off Lemoyne from the puck. And a counterattack led by Caleb Smallman, pursued there by Connor Hudson as well, and Allison going to the net, and reaching out for that for the save is George Mahinick with 14 3/4 left on the clock here. Lemoyne in with that last chance. He's second in Kings scoring here this season. 15 goals and 35 points on the campaign for the centerman Lemoyne. Only trails Jackman on the team in scoring, as well as finishing tied for 11th in points in the Nova Scotia under-16 scoring race. That'll roll in behind the goal. Got away there from Hudson, and a puck battle ensues up by Mason Cole along the half wall from the point, and that will ricochet off the top of the glove of Mahinick. That wrister came from the point from Smallman. It's held in the zone, though, by the Western Rebels. Goody along the ice, banging away on it. A chance in front. Mahinick diving out to lay on top of that puck, and a late jab there, perhaps, by Connor Hudson. Or, excuse me, Zach Goody. Yes, he was making an attempt there, perhaps, at his second goal of the game, but it was after the whistle blew. No supplementary action or discipline on that one, so we'll continue at 5-on-5. Hudson and Kaysen Lively back to the circle. It's won by Lively back to Corkum, who was pinched up there along the boards by a Rebels forechecker. That was Smallman throwing the body for the Rebels. And Lively pushes up through, and Ben Fraser is away with it. And a shot up off perhaps the goalie mask of Hudson Lynch as Ben Fraser was pushing for that top corner up and over the blocker, and Lynch got the shoulder or something up to get in the way of that. So the puck will skip up and it'll play. Face-off coming up in the Rebel zone. Lively had to take the draw again, and Fraser waiting in behind. He will get it off the draw, lets it go through a crowd. Rebound hits Slavuta on the way in. Second attempt doesn't go, and the Rebels will push it up toward the blue line. Otway can't punch it across. It'll go in behind the Rebels' net. Ty Collins has to backtrack. Pursued there by Lively on the defensive, and Otway attempted to pick it up at center ice. It got away from him as Sidoric jammed it into the corner diagonally for the Kings. Kings looking to put on a push here. They had a good few shifts here to begin the period, but the only goal to speak of in the third off the tape of Brody Noy to make it 5-1 in favor of the Western Rebels. Fraser out of the corner in his own zone. He skated by the puck the first time, so he has to try again. He's at the hash marks. He's going to beat Otway on the exit attempt and will keep up with it. Gains the line, spins off the body check, but doesn't get the dump in as deep as he wants it. Now in the second attempt, he will play it to Grant Shelley. Back to Fraser from the tight angle and behind the net. Was looking to maybe chip it off Hudson Lynch. Couldn't do it. And it's going to bounce away wildly on Culp. And Connor Hudson in alone for the Rebels. And a whistle as he shot the puck. He couldn't believe it. But there is a penalty in behind the play. I believe a slash going to be assessed to Ben Phillips of the Western Rebels, as Connor Hudson so close to making it 6-1, but it will convert instead to a Kings power play with 12:53 to go here in the third on High Button Sports. Jordan Jackman in to take the face-off. First power play unit taking the ice for the Kings, and Weston on the pinch. Could not keep it. Amiro has to hustle back. Connor Hudson just off the nullified breakaway. Jumps out onto the ice and puts some speed pressure on Amiro. Now Jackman will take it up on the close side. The Kings captain will flutter it in along the dash. It's held by Amiro at the far side. Ben Fraser also out there and behind the net for Thompson. Up to Fraser at the far side hash marks. Back to the line for Amiro, and a little too hot to handle for the Kings defenseman. He will have to back up to his own blue line. Jackman takes it, but doesn't go very far, as again Luke McGilvery gets in the way for the Western Rebels. We're taking care of business here in the first half of this Kings man advantage. A minute and 3 to go on the power play for Kings Hockey Club. Jordan Jackman on the pass to his left flank to Lemoyne, who is laid out there along the wall by Smallman. Now Ben Harris will shoot it down the ice. It's held at the line by Corkum. Lemoyne has some time and space, lets the shot go. And a big block there from Jack McDonald getting the stick in the shooting lane. And that will lead to another clear for the Rebels. HC Kings, a 14.5% power play this year, 8th in the league. But the Rebels, with an 86.1% penalty kill, which is 5th out of 12 teams in the regular season here in the Nova Scotia Under-16 League. Smallman walks in, and a bit of a foolish bouncing puck up and over the head of Mahinick, And he will reach up while in the butterfly position to snag that out of the air. And we're down to 22 seconds on the HC Kings power play. Going to be a face-off to the left side of Mahinnick. And Sam Surratt will come out there on the penalty kill to take the draw. Going to be a face-off inside Kings territory. Though Kings remain in the power play here for a few more seconds. Brody Noy, the most recent goal scorer for the Rebels, will back out to the neutral zone. Sideruk now with it for HC Kings. And it'll be settled down. Corkum heading up, and Chisholm. Can't take it in very far. Settled down by Lynch. And up and off the boards. Pino played up through the middle. We're back to 5-on-5 here, with Ben Phillips exiting the box after that slashing call a few minutes ago. Approaching the midway point of the third period. Rebels up by 4. And Ben Phillips with the backhand and toward the net. Sliding across, an easy save there for Mahinnick. Corkum on the reverse. Finds Chisholm. And Collins looking for it, at least for Pino. Pino walking him back toward the net. He let that shot go from the top of the circle. Now in low, and Brady Allison in close. Tried to put it underneath the pad of George Mahinnick. And it is going to be held up there. And Pino almost went down. It is actually the linesman who is racing in to help defuse the situation. He looks okay after that one, but he took a tumble with Pino, the Western Rebels forward rather, falling on top of him, mixing up the Hudsons here. Hudson Lynch, the goaltender. Hudson Pino, the winger here on this Rebels team. Speaking of Hudsons, Connor Hudson wins the faceoff for the Rebels over to Zach Goody. He was pinched up there in the corner by the Kings, and they will exit the zone and up with speed. Here comes Cason Lively in one-on-one, and Ben Phillips with a big hit on the play, and he dodges the penalty. And the so-called sheriff for the Western Rebels coming in with a big defensive play, with a little bit of physicality in there as well to break up that rush attempt for Lively. And it's up into the Kings bench. And it'll play. The draw should come back inside the Kings zone with 9.5 to play here in the third period. Western Rebels still lead by a 5-1 score on High Button Sports. Draw came to the right of Mahinnick. Down into the corner, almost finding Tobin McEwen in the slot area. It's going to miss him. And it'll go down. Pigeon, fan on his first clearance attempt. Got it back to McEwen the second time, but not hard enough as Romaine joined the battle. Romaine will race after Tobin McEwen as numbers the other way for the Rebels. The saucer! Oh, what a beautiful pass from McEwen. It didn't quite convert, but some great playmaking from number 17, the Rebels, and a counterattack now for the Kings, and Ethan Lemoyne opted to shoot, and Hudson Lynch shuts the door once more for the Western Rebels. And now back and forth, some sprints all the way down the ice, and McEwen again starting off with that play, almost like 3-on-3 overtime here, a bad collision in behind the play as the Kings take it down the attack the other direction. Lemoyne joined by Slavuta and Matthew Thompson in the net front area. Lemoyne pinned up there along the wall. Caleb Smallman played that up further for Western, and McEwen cleared the zone. He's at the end of a long shift, almost setting up a highlight reel play for the backdoor pass to his teammate, which would have made it 6-1, but Mahinnick came up with the save for the Kings on that one. Smallman settles down, and Miro jams it up the wall over the Noy. Ben Harris now off the bumper. Connor Hudson tried to throw it in. He'll stay onside as Goody throws some physicality in front of the players' bench. In there in a battle with Mason Cole, and LeBlanc walks in. Couldn't get the shot off as Ben Harris hustled back, and there's a tie-up down there in the corner, loose in front of the goal, and it got away from Nash Neufeld. Now Emiro down into the corner, and Cole, there was a pair of Kings parked there in the net mouth area, and that will not be tapped by anybody as play continues. Some pressure now from the Kings, and Miro slapped it along the ice. He flubbed that a little bit as he didn't direct it on net the way he wanted to. He'll stop it up now and place it down for Cole. Cole to the net, and nobody knew where it was there for a second. Not even Neufeld, who deflected that puck, as that is sent skyward by the Rebels defenseman, who will, to the mercy of his team, get that up and out of play for a rest, as HC Kings will pour on the pressure here in the latter half of the third period. 7:13 to go on the clock, and they still trail by 4, so they're looking for an answer. But Hudson Lynch has been a tough goalie to crack here tonight, stopping everything but one shot as Grancelli snapped that off the face-off win by Lively, and Lynch got the arm on that as well. Grancelli couldn't hold the line, will avoid the hand pass call as Hudson Pino takes it the other way. He's all alone against 4 different Kings. Finally, help will catch up with him as he gets it deep enough into the Kings zone. Now Otway had that roll off his tape. It'll be taken away by Grancelli, skating it up across his own blue line, and will gain the red for the dump in. Runs into Pino at center ice. His play continues on. Some contention for the puck down along the close side. And the Rebels will punch it across the blue line. They'll have to chase after it, though, as Chisholm returns it to the corner. Ty Collins stops up on the direction change, looking for his winger, but that will flutter through the air. Otway eventually kicked it up on the diagonal pass to Pino, and that is sent down into the corner. Just over 6 minutes to play here in the third period. Rebels still in control, and that amount of time away from advancing to 2-1 in the tournament here at home, and a real chance to contend for a spot in the gold medal game on Sunday. They have one more round robin game coming up as Phillips throws the big shoulder on one King, keeping that physicality up for his team, and Lemoyne goes down on the play as well for the Kings. Now the Western Rebels are deep into HC Kings territory. Smallman chasing after that. Romaine tried to clear it, and it got away from Goody as well. But now up the middle with it is Landon Culp across the Tornado logo at center ice, down into the zone. That's paddled away by Lynch into the corner. McGillivray first to it and checked by Culp. Also Slavuta getting in there. It's a pileup of Kings players down along the wall. Slavuta still tied up with the Rebel down in the corner, and they're not done many seconds after the play exited the zone, and that'll be enough for a penalty. It appears to be coincidentals from the referee, as Luke McGillivray was the other player tied up there. Slavuta heads to the penalty box for HC Kings. With 5:11 left in the third period. 5-1 the score for Western, nearing the end of this one on High Button Sports. And in fact, there will only be a single penalty on that sequence. Slavuta going off for a 2-minute roughing. So the Western Rebels back to work in the power play. Only one power play tonight on which they scored. Sam Surratt had that extra man attacker marker. Pino to the net front. That rides up a stick and goes up and over the cage. Now we're going to have a stoppage of play. There was some rowing going on in front of Mihinnick's crease. I don't know if the net was dislodged there or if something else happens, perhaps a goalie equipment thing, or a penalty or anything of the like on the play. Not quite certain, but we will continue on. Now there are 5 Kings on the ice, while it reads a penalty for them on the board. And that 5th King was out there to get to the dressing room, so there's 4 actually continuing on the play in the penalty kill. Surratt had the puck with the Rebels getting set up on the power play. Callahan stops up along the wall. Alone for Surratt. He was handcuffed there on the backhand, so he has to retreat the zone. And now Sam Surratt, breaking a goal skid tonight, maybe back into his groove after that one, and buzzing around for the Rebels' offense tonight. This is carried in by Ben McGregor in the puck battle against Weston, and Weston will pin him along the boards. McGregor throwing a second body check as he gets some help in here from his teammates. Another minute to play on the Rebels' power play. Callahan swings it across for Pino. 5-forward power play going on here for the Rebels right now is McGregor, Otway, Surrett, Pino, and Callahan out there right now. Pino return to Surrett, crossways for Callahan, catches it in a circle. Top of the dot, lets it fly, but it was wide of the goal. Pino hustles over to keep it in the zone. Hudson Pino dances in, leaves off for Callahan, drawing some of the bodies to him. Callahan up through the middle, Surrett the shot, down low, rebound, chaos in front of the net, and laying down on his back was Mihinick, who managed to come up with the cover-up and the freeze of the play with 29 seconds still left to play on the power play. And coming up with a big save here as a threatening Western Rebels power play unit, making a lot of noise here on this late third period opportunity. Mihinick is just barely getting back to his feet. Perhaps just catching a breath there after all the commotion on that last play. Face-off one cleanly back by Brady Allison. Comes to the point for Daniel Pigeon to Tobin McEwen at the top of the circle on the far side. Returns to Pigeon through traffic, and Mihinick finds it all the way through. Who's been making some really solid saves in this third period despite his team trailing by 4. Some more separation required from the linesman here, breaking up a scrum. Mason Cole in to take the face-off. He'll go up against Allison. Allison wins the draw again. 15 seconds left on the man advantage for Western. Played down low for Connor Hudson. He'll glide in, fan on the pass, so second attempt. And Smallman was ruined at it in front of the net. Now it's going to be settled down by McEwen. Returned the pass to Pigeon, back to McEwen, lets the shot go, and snapped in on net, and covered up by Mihinick just as Slavuta returns to play, and 5-on-5 with 3:09 to go in the hockey game here. The draw will remain in the Kings zone. So pending a very, very late comeback, the Kings will fall out of contention for the gold medal here at the Maritime Championships. Meanwhile, the Rebels will advance to 6 points and a 2-1 record. That'll tie them with the Cabot Highlanders at the top of the standings as Thompson walks in and out of the glove of Hudson Lynch, who made a nice save there to get it up and out of danger. Counterattack the other way. Carrying that is McDonald, trying to punch that up to Connor Hudson, who is in on the rush. A good back check there by the Kings to break up another Rebel scoring chance. The one-hand dump in by defenseman Scott Corkum will send that in low. Off the stick of Mason Cole. And over to McGilvery, who will exit the zone. Luke McGilvery across the red line and then the blue. Through the legs, all alone, backhand! Oh, a fantastic stop by the right pad of Mihinick. They're not done yet, though, and that will scatter through the crease. A couple of great looks and some more extracurricular activity after the whistle here as Siderick got tied up with a Rebel and threw a hit after the whistle went in the crease. So linesmen are in there quick to break that up. Mihinick is down on his backside. Mason Cole immediately to the penalty box here for the Kings. There might be one or two more. We'll see after this. Only 2:10 to play here in the third period. A quick consultation with the referees at center ice. They'll see who's all going to go here, if there were any other guilty parties on that flurry of pushes and shoves and rows. And now there is a signal to the Rebels bench. A cross-checking call is the assessment. Zach Goody will head to the box for likely some coincidental 2-minute minors here. The referees are preparing to drop the puck again. 5 players out there per team, so we'll remain at even strength for now. And the draw will come outside. Typically happens when the defensemen from the attacking team, so in this case the Rebels, join in on the scrum after the whistle, and that time they did. So the Kings will win it back into their zone, and Connor Hudson will give chase. Hudson has it on his stick, will play it down for McEwen. McEwen at the far side hash marks. Allison is parked in the slot area. had an opening, but that was just as McEwen was pinned up there along the wall by Alexander Glover. D to Romaine will get it up diagonally and will send it off the tape of Chisholm. Icing waved off, and Ben Harris sends that up high and out the center again for the Rebels. Final 100 seconds of the hockey game. Grancelli is pushed off the puck there by Tobin McEwen and rolls over to Harris. Harris, right on the tape of Hudson, will gain the zone. Grancelli giving chase, and Hudson will keep at it. A couple of pushes and shoves exchanged there with Grancelli, and now a pile up in front of the Kings bench there, and a penalty coming up in behind the play of the Rebels, but Lemoyne down with numbers, looking for Grancelli on the cross ice pass, and it's finally touched up by Brody Noy. So the Western Rebels will head to the penalty box here very late in the game. Brady Allison to the box, a head contact is the verdict. So a very late HC Kings power play here coming up. Nash Neufeld, Landon Colt, Kaysen Lively, and the defenseman Jaden Weston and Jacob Emiro out here on the man advantages. Weston got cornered, unable to make that D-to-D dish to Emiro, and is sent down the ice here by Western as they look to close out another big win here on home ice in front of the host fans here in Tyne Valley here this weekend. Back-to-back 4+ goal wins is likely what it'll shape out to, give or take a late goal. And it's going to be knocked down with a high stick. So the Rebels will prepare for their final game of the round robin tomorrow against the St. John Vitoes. Vitoes begin their day tomorrow against the Highlanders. So both of those games involving the St. John Vitoes will have big implications on how things shake out for competition for the gold medal game bursts on Sunday afternoon. 4 teams still very much in the mix for that game, including the Rebels, the Eastern Dukes, the St. John Vitoes, and the Cabot Highlanders. The Kings will fall out of contention as they will now fall to 0-3 in 3 round-robin games played, so they won't be able to make up the points to make it into the top 2 in the round-robin. As that shot from the point over to Emiro from the tight angle, the net is dislodged on the play as it's touched up. The referee tries to straighten it up, and he does it just enough to allow play to continue on as the puck will come out as the buzzer goes at the end of the game. The Western Rebels take over a big second period, leading the way for the team, and they will advance to 2-1 here at the Maritime Championships here in Tyne Valley. 5-1 the final score here for the Rebels in Tyne Valley. Another big showing from Hudson Lynch in between the pipes, only allowing 1 goal in the game to Mason Cole, marking the only goal for the Kings in that one. 5 different scores for the Western Rebels. Zach Goody, Ben McGregor, Ellis Callahan, Sam Surrett, and Brody Noy in the third period, rounding out the score sheet for the Rebels in this one as we throw it down to the ice for the Player of the Game awards.
We welcome Tracy Ball, representing the host committee, to present the Player of the Game awards. First, starting with the Kings Hockey Club. Receiving the Player of the Game award for the Kings, number 5, Makar Sarah. And Player of the Game for your Western Rebels. Receiving the Player of the Game for the Rebels is number 9,
Ellis Callahan for the Western Rebels with a goal tonight, and Makar Sidorik gets Player of the Game honors for the Kings as the Rebels continue on their march in a contest for a gold medal game berth on Sunday afternoon here in Tyne Valley. As for who will play in that game, there's 4 teams still in contention. Only 2 of them can make it into Sunday, and all those questions will be answered starting tomorrow morning here in Tyne Valley, an early 9 a.m. puck drop with the St. John Vitoes and the Cabot Highlanders going head-to-head here to start the day's action. Tyne Valley, 3 more round-robin games starting bright and early Saturday morning here on High Button Sports. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's game as well as all of today's action and throughout the tournament here on High Button Sports. My name is Luke Diamond. It's been a pleasure to help bring this tournament to you so far and so long down the road tomorrow and into the championship final here in Tyne Valley on Sunday. But we say so long for now. Have a good rest of your Friday night, and we'll catch you bright and early tomorrow morning here on High Button Sports in Tyne Valley.